Welcome back. This is section 1.2 in Math 60 at Lane Community College. I'm going to split this section into several parts. This is part 1. Please pause the video and read section 1.2 in your text. I will go over each key topic. I recommend you pause the video at the end of each of these and do some of the checkpoint problems in your book. In this video, I'll be looking at fractions, and factors. All right, so let's start with fractions. Typical fraction is something like 1/2. The top number is called the numerator, and as we'll see later, it doesn't have to be a number, it could be a variable. The expression underneath the division bar is called the denominator. We can write mixed numbers or improper fractions. Sounds like they're doing something wrong, but they're not. There's just two different ways of writing it. So I can go from a mixed number to an improper fraction, or I can go in the opposite direction and go from an improper fraction back to a mixed number. A mixed number is a number like 1.5. It's mixed. It has a fraction part and an integer part. It's the same thing as saying 1 plus 1/2. An improper fraction would look like 3 divided by 2, or 3/2. In this case, we have a numerator, the top number, is bigger or greater than the denominator. And this is a math symbol denoting greater than. We can convert back and forth between these two. So let's start with 2 and 5/6 and write that as an improper fraction. The way we do that is we say 6 times 2 and add the 5 divided by 6, or 12 plus 5 divided by 6, which is 17 divided by 6. So we've gone from a mixed number to an improper fraction. We took the 6, multiplied it by the 2, and then added 5, and all of that went into the numerator. If we wanted to go the other direction, I'll start with the improper fraction and go to the mixed number. We use division. Basic old long division. So I take 6, divide that into 17. 6 goes into 17 twice. 2 times 6 is 12. Subtract, I get 5. 6 doesn't divide into 5, so I end up with 2 and 5/6. At this point, pause the video and do the checkpoint problems. I believe they're number 1 and number 2 in your book. Another key point in this section is factoring or factors. I've listed some integers here, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. And we'll just factor these. In other words, I'm going to write these as multiplications. So 2 could also be written as 1 times 2. I could write it as 2 times 1, but those are really my only two options if I stay with integers. Now if I say 3, well, that's 1 times 3. Certainly 6 is 1 times 6. However, we could also write that as 2 times 3. So we have a couple different options on how to write 6. 7, again, we're stuck with 1 times 7. There's really nothing else I can do until I go into fractions, and I don't want to do that. 8, I could write it 1 times 8. I could write it as 2 times 4. Well, I have one more option. I could write it as 2 times 2 times 2. So right away we see that these two are a little bit different than the others. Or perhaps we should say that these, the 2, the 3, and the 7, are different than the 6 and the 8. 6 and 8 can be written in a variety of forms, while 2, 3, and 7, my only option is to multiply the number itself times 1. Right? That's all I can do in each of these cases. When that's true, these are called primes. If I can take a number and multiply it in a variety of ways to get that number, we call these composite numbers. We have a couple new words, a composite number and a prime number. When two or more numbers are multiplied together, they are called factors. So here's that word, factors. Probably best in an example, 2 and my little and symbol. 2 and 3 are factors of 6. Let's factor the number 42. Alright, so I take 42. I know 2 divides into it because it's an even number. So that would be 2 times 21, and certainly that is factored. But 21 factors, I could write 2 times 3 times 7. Now notice that each one of these is prime. So I just factored 42 into a group of primes. This is what we call prime factorization. And this will get used when we look for common denominators later on in this section. Alright, so again, you can go back to your book, try some checkpoint problems. In part 2, we'll be looking at adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing fractions.